We are back today with another 5 sheet. Welcome. And remember, the 5 sheet is a free tool that anyone can use to read past the misleading tactics that we see in most news articles today. Its objective and standardized nature allows people with different biases and knowledge levels to compare their takes on a certain article apples to apples. In this video, I'll break down the 5 sheet I did on this article. So if your knowledge level or biases point you in a different direction, use the link below to do your own 5 sheet. Or if there's another article that's more appealing, drop a link in the comments for me to follow up on in a later video. Alright, let's get started. The headline as they write it: Yellen, U.S. could reach full employment next year if Congress passes Biden's stimulus plan. So what is that, a fact or opinion? I think that's a fact. Obviously, this part here is an opinion, but that is Janet Yellen's statement. The headline itself is just reporting that Janet Yellen said that. So it seems like a straightforward fact. No editorialization there. How did I paraphrase it? Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said the country could reach full employment next year if they pass Biden's stimulus plan. Not much room to change stuff around when something is a relatively straightforward fact. Alright, what's the bias? CNN. I put establishment left, corporatist Democrat type. Alright, where's the thesis? It's in this first paragraph here. I said it's a fact as well. Similar but a little bit expanded. Treasury Secretary Yellen said Sunday the U.S. could see full employment next year if Biden's stimulus package is passed, but warned the employment rate would remain elevated for the next few years without it. How did I paraphrase it? On Sunday, Yellen said the U.S. could see full employment next year if it passes Biden's stimulus, but will see higher employment without it. Alright, moving on to the evidence supporting that thesis. It was right in this next paragraph. Yellen told CNN's Jake Tapper on State of the Union. It's not a very hard thesis to evidence. It's just that she made this claim. So they said, where did she make this claim? During this interview here. Not that hard to prove. Alright, what's the outline of this article? Starts out with that thesis, and then her evidence talking about CBO numbers here, and then talks about the status of the stimulus bill, about Republicans opposed to the price tag, etc. And then talks about job numbers and the CBO report on job numbers, and finally how that relates to Biden's plan. Okay, moving on to the named deception tactics here. These are the most common and important deception tactics we see in printed news articles. If you need a refresher on these, they are in the glossary linked in the description. So, strawman feigning ignorance. It did seem odd to me that there was this talk of full employment next year without mentioning the lockdowns, etc. So I don't know which way she's envisioning this. Does that plan include... Is she saying that we'll have full employment if restaurants and hairstylists and everyone are able to go back to work and we do the stimulus? Is she relying on us being fully open? Or is she saying if we have current lockdown type measures, where a lot of people I know are not able to work because they're, servers, bartenders, etc., and those jobs don't exist right now, but saying we would still have full employment under these same conditions if they passed that stimulus. So that wasn't addressed. That felt like an elephant in the room that they didn't look at one way or the other. Another one here, false citation. So right near the top, you see Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said Sunday that, and this is the part that's a link, said Sunday that U.S. could see full employment next year. So you're like, oh, U.S. could see full employment next year. I bet if I clicked on that, it would be some link about how the U.S. could see full employment next year. If you actually click through that link, it's mostly talking about how it will take until I wrote 2045, but yeah, 2024 or 2025 to get back to full employment. There's very little talk about Biden's stimulus in that article that's linked to here, but there is this one line that says Biden's plan would speed up the recovery by about a year compared with no additional fiscal support. And that's different from the 2 to 3 years, because could see full employment by next year versus 2025. So next year is 2023. And she's saying with no stimulus, it would take until 2025. That's a difference of 3 years. And if you follow this link, which the way they phrase it here implies to be supporting her point, the only part of that link that actually talks about it is saying it's 1 year, not 3 years. So you got to be careful of those citations. It's really easy to look at those and you assume that, oh, well, that's got to be talking about the thing it's linking to, but oftentimes they're not, and sometimes they say something directly contrary to what the link implies. Alright, final section here, big picture. What do we think the article was talking about? What other noteworthy facts were going on? So I thought the worst part of this article was that there was no attempt to look at this from another angle. No attempt to fact check, debunk, or get other perspectives on Yellen's claims. This read very much like a White House press release. They just said, Yellen said this thing. Here's Yellen's evidence for it. The CBO, this is kind of supporting her case. Well, Biden's plan is looking pretty good here. Story's over. They didn't have one of their in-house experts in there saying like, well, this number says that, so maybe it actually means this. They didn't have anyone disputing the numbers. They didn't have like pundit type guy with a different opinion, or like an economist, battle of the experts type thing. They didn't have anything running contrary to her message. All they did was printed her message and then a little bit of context supporting her message. And that does not feel like a robust media culture. Alright guys, that's what I got for this one. If you think I missed anything, feel free to drop a link below. Otherwise, I would love to see a recommendation for any other articles you'd like to see a 5-sheet run on. And I'll see you next time.